everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Drone Wars. Sorry that this episode is a little bit late, but we're just going to jump in and see what happens in this board. In front of us we can see that the Pirate Empire has most of the board, and it seems that the Federation is actually making a move to try expanding down south. So that's interesting. We can see the remains of Delta shipyards are there, but they have no way of actually continuing through. So we're just going to see what happens here. Alright, so the Federation right now has a lot of, they have a lot of money they can spend. But instead of spending it right away, they've decided to go ahead and try doing some other things. They've actually been moving some fleets. So their first action is just to move one of their fleets from the back, moving it down here. Just acts as a bit of a defensive buffer. And then their next action was actually to send the fleet that was originally here, down here to the Puritam Dunes to go ahead and take on this very powerful fleet. So yeah, they're taking a carrier, a battleship, a frigate, and a corvette against a supercarrier and these fighters. I'm actually interested in seeing if they're actually able to take that down. If they're able to take that down, that's going to be huge for the Federation. They can use that to kind of just push back and expand, taking back the territory they've been losing. But yeah, we're just going to see if they're able to do that successfully. Alright, we have arrived on Puritam. Here in front of us we can see the Federation fleet that is attacking. They've got some pretty significant ships out here that will be able to do some decent damage. But they're facing off against a supercarrier, so this is going to be a really difficult fight. And there's a lot of fighters out here. If they're successful, they should be able to take out most of the fighters and actually be able to do more damage to that supercarrier. But it's going to be pretty tricky to be able to pull that off. Especially with the amount of firepower that that supercarrier has. Almost immediately there is a lot of point defense going around the place. And these two ships are getting dangerously close to each other, but they're doing what they can. A lot of missiles have hit that carrier. Major damage already. Yeah, that's not great. This other ship here is trying to get close enough to deal with those fighters, but it is taking a lot of damage here. There's already a lot of missiles coming in again. Now it's just about gone in range. All these fighters are rushing in trying to do everything. That corvette might as well be lost. And the supercarrier here is moving forward. See here that the carrier here is moving back a bit. It is struggling to deal with all the fighters down there. You can see there's some laser fire already moving in. I believe that's going after the other fighters who are caught in the mix down here. Yep. There's a lot of cannon fire going after this supercarrier. They're still rushing forward, trying to get close enough. In the meantime, the Federation ships are trying to move back to get away from it. You know that close-range combat with this carrier is very dangerous. This carrier is somehow still alive, but it is pretty much in close range combat now, so it just needs to do whatever it can in close range. Find as many cannons as it can. You can see there's a lot of cannon fire moving in as well from the other battleship in the distance. It looks like this supercarrier is actually trying to get underneath the carrier, but it's also trying to get close to the frigate down there. Because that frigate's railguns might actually be more dangerous than the cannons. At least for taking down shields. They've gone just about close enough to deal with fighters and the frigate there. So that frigate's going to start taking a lot of damage. It seems that that frigate is trying to deal with the fighters down there. You can see both of these ships here trying to keep their distance. Those railguns are pretty much doing a lot of damage to both of them. They're still holding pretty strong here. They're actually going up to try avoiding the gravity a little bit, so that way if they lose some thrusters they won't fall immediately. Oh, the shields have actually gone down, so now the supercarrier here is actually starting to take some damage. It's currently trying to do some evasive maneuvers after it's just realized that. The good thing is that this carrier actually has some pretty good frontal armor, so it's able to handle most of those hits. But if it isn't careful, it's going to be taking a lot of damage from all those cannons. So it needs to get in close and finish the job. It doesn't look like those other ships are allowing it to do so. It's just a constant barrage of cannon fire that's trying to dodge. It is firing as much of its railgun as it can. A lot of hits going into the front of this thing. This railgun fire is still just constantly pouring out. We can see that these ships are taking heavy railgun fire. Those railguns are really starting to dig in, which is not great. They've basically just left the frigate to fend for itself down there and deal with the fighters. Which it might be able to deal with, but that's going to be a more difficult situation. These ships just need to deal enough hits to make the carrier go down. This long-range strategy is proving to be very effective for Mjollnir. The other ships are struggling to hit it. In fact, I might be losing more weaponry over time. Okay, it's gone just about close enough to the battleship that those missiles are starting to be fired. And also be very effective at distracting the railguns for a little bit. And because of the close rangeness here, it's going to be a lot easier for the cannons to hit. Unfortunately, that also means the lasers are just about close enough to do damage as well. So they have to work very quickly to try to shoot this ship down before those lasers dig in too much. It's actually a very dangerous situation for Mjollnir. It's gone a little bit too close, and now the rear of the ship is exposed. That's where it has the least armor. Yep, a lot of these weapons are definitely being taken down, but it still has them. Yep, the supercarrier is not looking particularly good here. It only has a few railguns and a laser going on. If it's able to angle itself, it might be able to use the weapons underneath it. For the most part, most of its weapons here are out of order. And it's struggling to move a little bit. There we go, it's gone within laser range again. The Baron over there is just about trying to get out of range. It's firing whatever cannons it has left. Mjollnir here is struggling, it's lost some of its thrusters. Still holding pretty strong though. Its armor is definitely proven to be able to take all these cannon shots, and it is still flying. Now that it's gone some distance, the weapons underneath it actually have a firing angle to use. Those cannons are struggling to hit. It seems like the other ships are trying to get close as well, so that way they can hit a lot easier. And they're starting to hit the side armor here, which is slowly starting to give way. Ooh, there's a massive explosion over there. You can actually see the battle from over here at the start. Over here you can see that surprisingly the Arrow frigate is alive and dealing with these fighters. And of course, going all the way up here, we can see the Mjollnir is slowly being pushed back. And these other ships are slowly moving in. Though it seems like the Baron here is actually taking some critical damage, leaving most of its thrusters unable to function. It might actually crash down to the ground, if that's the case. Yikes. That means that the warrior out here is going to be the ship that has to do the damage. Also, I'm not sure if its AI blocks are still functional or not. As you can see here, this Mjollnir is taking quite a bit of damage, but it's still holding itself, just barely. You can see it has taken some hits to its thrusters, but overall most of its thrusters seem to be fine. And while that ship is trying to return back to battle, we're going to go and take a look at how the Arrow is doing. The Arrow is doing surprisingly well, holding its ground and taking care of these fighters. Seems like there aren't that many fighters left. And now here we can see the Baron crashing down to the ground. Okay, well, the game crashed, so that happened. Anyways, we've returned back to the battle, and out here we can see that the arrow is still doing whatever it can to take out these remaining fighters. Of course, there are heavy losses to many of the fighters. There are very few remaining, if any. We can see out here that the Baron did crash into the ground. So that's unfortunate. And up in the sky we should see there's a 1v1 between the Mjollnir and the Warrior, and I believe the Warrior has lost its AI, but its turrets are still functional. Which means that this Mjollnir is charging in. Oh, that's a lot of railgun fire. That is fatal. And there's some missiles being fired as well. I don't think that battleship is going to last much longer if this is the case. Oh, some of the missiles actually missed, but that's just taking a massive chunk out of the ship. And of course, the remaining cannons are trying whatever they can. These small amounts of damage are being done, but it seems like this carrier can only do so much. Just needs to take out enough thrust on this supercarrier, and then the supercarrier might crash into the ground here. Now all these ships are going down very quickly. The gravity of this planet might not be able to, yeah, this planet's gravity might be strong enough to take out the Mjollnir. Mjollnir is going very quickly towards the ground. It's trying to stop itself. It might just about have the thrust. Yeah, the Mjollnir definitely still has a thrust to fly here. Though it is still slowly angling towards the ground. Yep, the supercarrier is still airborne. I'm not sure if that frigate will be able to do enough damage. But But at least most of these fighters have been taken out. Now its supercarrier is going to finish off that last frigate. You can see the remains of the Baron there are doing whatever they can. Don't think it'll be enough. Now it's just about going in range to try taking out that frigate. And I think the frigate's already out. I was trying to get back up. Well, that Mjollnir might actually hit the ground there. Quite a bit of damage there, but it is still flying. I think that's about it for the Federation fleet. And we can just take a look at the remaining ships and see if there are any remaining fighters. It seems like every single fighter has been eliminated one way or another. The only ship that survived is the Mjollnir. So we're going to go back to the board and update it as needed. Alright, so that was an interesting battle. The Federation almost won. But I think the most important part about that battle was that all of the fighters were eliminated. Unfortunately, all the fighters that were carried by the carrier will be restocked, but all the additional fighters are gone, which means that that fleet is significantly weaker now. It's just that supercarrier and the fighters are carries. And that means less distractions for turrets to aim at. Alright, so the Federation decided to use its last action to move its last fleet all the way down, well, up there, just one down. So they actually have like a bit of a defensive wall here to defend against that one supercarrier. And all the way down here they do have their other fleet that's going to be used for expanding at some point. Now, the Pirate Empire, with their turns, well, first of all, they've went ahead and taken over this planet here using one of their fleets. So Delta Shipyards is now down to only 2 planets. Still no way for them to expand, but they are losing territory, and of course that means the Pirate Empire has a little bit more territory. They're actually pushing in now. And for the second action, the Pirate Empire is actually going to use their lone supercarrier out here. They're going to push it up and attack. They're going to go after this wall. So right here we can see that the Mjollnir is going after 2 carriers and a few extra fighters. This is going to be an interesting battle. I actually don't know if the carriers will be enough to take out a single supercarrier, but they might actually be able to pull this off. Maybe, based off the last battle. So we're just going to jump in and see if it works. Okay, looking at this battle, I actually don't know. Both sides, I honestly don't know. I feel like the Pirate Empire might win this battle if they pull their cards right, but the Federation actually has a small chance of winning this battle if they play it just right as well. It all just depends on how lucky they are. Over here you can see the Federation fleet with their 2 carriers and some fighters around the place. They have plenty of fighters to go around. All the way over here, we can see the Pirate Empire's fleet with, of course, some fighters and their 1 supercarrier. I'm actually not sure if that 1 supercarrier will be enough to take out the entire Federation fleet, but it might be able to do that. As you can see, there's a lot of missiles going out, and I think that the Federation needs to really focus their point defense on taking out as many of those missiles as possible. And this is going to be a very rough battle. Now that Duke needs to use its main weapon to disable the enemy ship as soon as possible. So you can see all these missiles are going after the Baron, it seems. But it seems like most of them have missed its target because the Baron actually has made some evasive maneuvers. Perfect execution. Now these ships need to move in and do whatever damage that they can. As you can see, there are more missiles coming in, and those fighters are going to go in and try to draw the attention of the enemy ships as quickly as they can. Yeah, the sooner they can distract all those railguns, the better, because that allows these other ships to move in and do even more damage. As you can see, the long-range firepower is already working, and that Baron is just going to be the sponge. In the meantime, the Duke just needs to sneak up and do as much damage as it can with its own railguns. Yep, the sooner those shields go down, the better. You can see all those lasers are going after the fighters. And of course, there are some fighters going after the carrier here, trying to do whatever they can. And of course, the Duke is helping out with taking out these fighters as well. It has its own defensive systems going haywire here. I think the shields have just about gone down, allowing some real damage to be done now. You can see that the Baron there is trying to stay back and is doing whatever it can with whatever it has here. And of course the Duke is just about aligning itself, preparing to use its main weapon. There are some shots coming after the Duke here, as it's just been noticed. But he's trying to get close enough to make sure he can aim properly. But now we've gone within laser range. just about close enough to use his main cannon. Although, if he misses, then that's going to be a big problem. Seems most of the railguns are now going after the Duke, which its shields have just gone down, which is very unfortunate. It needs to take a step back to get away from those lasers. But of course, because the enemy's shields are down, it is able to do some pretty heavy damage on the enemy here. Unfortunately, the large amount of lasers is taking its toll. Just needs to be able to aim his main cannon. Of course, the Baron is trying to get in a bit closer now. Definitely a lot of cannon shots being exchanged here. Now we've gone back into close range combat. He is trying to take out those railguns in the back, or just whatever weapons he can reach. Either that or he's going after thrusters. Both of which are pretty effective here. Baron is getting a little bit closer now. He is firing away whatever cannons it can. Also, the Mjollnir here seems to be doing its own evasive maneuvers. Unfortunately, the Duke being so close by is doing plenty of damage. A lot of shots being exchanged in this 2v1. Some of these cannon shots are actually getting through. You can see the armor is slowly taking some hits here and there. some weapons are slowly coming apart. And now some missiles are being fired from the Baron there to be a distraction. That'll help to distract the railguns. And also, because it's so close, it's actually going to be able to hit most of these cannon shots. You can see these ships have gone pretty high up. I think they're mainly going up so they don't have to deal with atmospherics. That's a pretty good strategy for extending the lifespan of your ship. As you can see, those rockets are proving to be very effective. The Duke has taken quite a bit of damage, but it is still functional. I'm actually not sure if its main cannon is even functional still. It might still be functional. And if it is, it should be able to disable the Mjollnir, causing it to fall. But of course, they need to take out more thrust before they do that. The Baron has just about gotten within close range here. So those lasers are now starting to become a problem. But of course, because of the close range, the cannons are able to hit even easier. Which is perfect for doing some pretty big hits. You see, a lot of these railguns are being taken down. Of course, the Mjollnir is slowly going down. The most is an evasive maneuver rather than losing any thrust. It's still holding pretty strong here. Now, of course, its armor is being broken apart, and slowly shots are entering the hangar, or what used to be a hangar. the Mjollnir has lost a lot of its side thrust and is slowly going down towards the planet as a result. In fact, it is losing a lot of its forward thrusters. About half of them are gone at this point. Now, of course, this is a perfect opportunity for the other ships to attack from above. Baron is still trying to go for a broadside there. And of course the Mjollnir is turning to try to block that using its front. But it's still very vulnerable to the Duke up there that's firing with long-range railguns. And it seems to be aiming for its forward thrusters. Or whatever thrusters it can get to. Mjollnir is trying to stop its motion with whatever thrusters it has left. But most of them are gone at this point, it's just those three. Well, those three main thrusters, it should have some auxiliary thrusters hitting around the place. It's trying to slow down. Now those forward thrusters are working overtime to try getting it back into the fight here. All these railgun shots are proving to be very dangerous. Seems like the Baron is falling down a little bit. I think most of that is just evasive maneuvers. Don't actually know where the Duke is right now. It should also be nearby, trying to get close enough. Seems like the Duke is just sitting above the enemy, trying to get close enough and sneak up on them. Which is actually a really interesting strategy. Yeah, while the Mjollnir is occupied with trying to take out the Baron, the Duke is slowly trying to attack from above without being noticed. It seems like the Mjollnir is trying to go for a more aggressive attack here as it is pushing forward. Unfortunately, that's leaving it very vulnerable to all of these cannon shells. attack from above is proven to be very deadly. But I think they're trying to lower the Mjollnir down into the gravity, so that way its thrusters will have less of an effect. So down here we can actually see the battle. Looks like the Baron is falling down here. Yeah, it's definitely lost most of its thrusters, so it's going to crash into the ground. And it is currently being attacked by all the fighters that were left down below. It's mainly just going to be a missile battle down there. In the meantime, the Duke and the Mjollnir are going to be going after each other up here. Now, if the Duke isn't careful, then those missiles are going to be a huge problem. As you can see, missiles are already being fired. Those fighters will slowly be dealt with by that. Now the big problem is if the Duke will be able to take out the Mjollnir here. The Duke is just hanging out up there, and it needs to lower itself if it wants to stand a chance. It might just be waiting. Either that or an AI block might have been taken out at some point. No, the AI seems to be active. It does look like the Mjollnir is slowly going down to the ground. I'm unsure if it has enough thrust to fly in the planet's gravity, but we'll find out. Oh, there are still some shells being fired from the crashed ship down there. some direct hits. It's doing fine. Those hits are getting pretty close to the main thrusters here. Oh, the Mjollnir might actually hit the ground here. And there it goes. I believe that's a surefire victory for the Federation here. Oh wait, the ship is trying to get up. It's trying, but I don't think it can. Yeah, so that is a victory for the Federation. The Federation finally took out a supercarrier for the first time, I think. And of course there's just all these fighters around the place, but these fighters will slowly be dealt with over time. But yeah, this is definitely a victory for the Federation. We're going to go back to the board and we're going to go ahead and update it. Alright, with that successful defense, the Federation has learned that the Pirate Empire supercarriers, the Mjollnir, they learned that the Mjolnirs are not invincible. That they're actually able to be taken down with some pretty good coordination. So hopefully the Federation takes that into account and tries to come up with some pretty good counter fleets. The Pirate Empire's last action was just to take over a Federation shipyard over here using one of their other fleets, which is getting dangerously close to these other, to the other Federation fleets here. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this episode. I mean, looking at the board here, the Pirate Empire is still growing, but surprisingly they did lose one of their, they actually lost their first fleet to feature a supercarrier, which is interesting. Yeah, in the next episode we'll see if the Federation decides to make their own supercarriers, because they have actually been saving up some coin, and they might actually be able to use that to build their own ships. If you guys are interested in joining us for Season 2, there is a link in the description for the Discord. Without further ado, that is the end of this episode, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care.